As we saw from the doorway, this grand chamber was dominated by 2 large tables with benches, obviously used to feed a large group of people at one time. A sturdy and well-used fireplace dominated the northern wall, while a large and magnificent painting of who I assumed was the Baron of the manor hung from the wall between the 2 doors leading away to the east and southeast. It didn't take long to recognize that the room was full of bodies, recently deceased humans who had been flung about violently and now lay haphazardly everywhere. We waited for a minute to see if they would rise and attack, but the corpses were simply that. We had nothing to fear from them, although they were a sorrowful sight. Interspersed with all the bodies were a huge assortment of dishware, utensils, and other items commonplace to a typical eating area, all broken now and scattered about as if a small cyclone had ravaged the chamber. While I couldn't know for sure, it appeared some sort of magical effect had blasted everyone here as they dined, killing them instantly and throwing them all about, along with their silverware and such. The force to do this must have been tremendous, but it didn't appear to have affected the building itself. That accounts for most of the Baron's staff, Saint-Ayers commented sadly, breaking the silence. What killed them all I cannot say, but it must have been something very powerful and very evil, Cartha jumped in, finishing Saint-Ayers' sentence. I don't think these poor victims were just killed. I think something consumed their very souls. The prospect quite frightful. Attention soon turned to Eswin, the warrior looking up at the large painting in the center of the eastern wall. Joining Eswin, the rest of the party and I looked up at the painting on the wall as well, the name Baron Renwald labeled at the bottom of the golden frame containing the portrait. The man in the image appeared to be in his late 40s, ceremonially dressed and grinning gently with combined humility and confidence. From what I understand, Baron Renwald was indeed a noble, compassionate individual, Saint-Ayers continued, apparently somewhat knowledgeable of him. He and his daughter would visit Kathleen from time to time and was always honest and fair in his dealings. We need to find him. Moments later, as if on cue, a man's laughter started to permeate the air, a deep, maniacal laughter that chilled all of us. Looking about, we could not see any obvious source of the laughter, but its sound was loud and quite terrifying. As I stood there looking about, I then detected a distinct drop in temperature and the hairs on the back of my neck quickly rose. Something terrible was about to happen. 2 shadowy figures then protruded from the fireplace, insubstantial beings that were clearly responsible for the laughter as they turned in our direction and approached. Wraiths! Cartha cried, horrified. Don't let them touch you, or they'll drain your life energy. Incorporeal creatures born of evil and darkness, the 2 undead monsters reached out toward us, desiring only to drain all our lives' energy. Acting quickly, both Saint-Ayers and Cartha attempted to turn the fiends, one of them fleeing and disappearing but the other directly attacking Ariana. The young elf instinctively punched at the remaining wraith with her fist, the blow passing right through the insubstantial monster and causing it no harm. Recognizing that a magical weapon was likely needed to harm the thing, Ariana then grabbed her magical short sword purchased back at the battle camp and swung with that instead, this time harming the creature. The rest of us then jumped to Ariana's defense, assaulting the wraith with our own magical weapons and destroying the monster before it was able to consume any of our lives' energy. The wraiths dispatched, the maniacal laughter disappeared with them. What were those things? Ariana asked, her innocence replaced with loathing. Powerful, undead monsters, Cartha responded, her hatred for them most apparent. Wicked, evil fiends. They came from the fireplace, Eswin pointed, the fireplace itself still cold and lifeless. Could there be more of them? The party looked to me as if I should go search the fireplace, and do so alone. I considered the prospect for a moment, then turned from my heroes and approached the cold stone fireplace. At first, I didn't find anything around the fireplace. Reaching up into the fireplace and feeling around within, however, helped me locate a small, hidden shelf. A moment later, I found and retrieved what appeared to be a dwarf's skull, 2 violet amethysts set into the eye sockets of the find. It appeared I had found a little treasure. Prying the gems out of the skull, I then pocketed the jewels, each worth 250 gold pieces, not a bad haul. Of course, I would have rather that the treasure had not existed at all if it meant everyone here on the floor were still alive and well. With the Great Hall here thoroughly investigated, there was nothing more for us to learn. 2 doors beckoned our curiosity to the northeast and southeast. Trying our luck with the northeast door, we quickly entered a neat and orderly bedroom containing its own northern fireplace, a draped master bed, a writing table, a wardrobe, and a night table. The room didn't seem nearly so chaotic or corrupted as the other areas we had so far investigated, as if it were being cared for and even cleaned regularly. That was because of the pair of small, children-like figures that were walking about, wearing tattered maid outfits and carrying filthy rags and feather dusters attending the room. As they turned in our direction to attack, we noticed that they both had long tails. These weren't children but more infernals. Having encountered these demons earlier outside within the undead garden, at least we knew how to best challenge them, destroying all 3 within a few wild minutes. More of these demons. Eswin cursed, having had his fill of the infernals we had encountered so far. I hate these things. A harbinger of things to come, Kartha lamented, bowing her head. Clearly the realm of nightmares has been breached and its monsters now walk amongst us. Let's see what we can find, Redfern added, going about a quick search of the bedchamber. While the bedroom itself didn't contain much of value, we did find 2 things of interest. First, there was an obvious secret door in the eastern wall, something that had been opened and closed so many times that the scratches on the floor made the secret door obvious. Second, and more importantly, we noticed that one of the infernals was wearing something peculiar on its face. A quick look upon the destroyed imp revealed a pair of spectacles, mundane reading glasses that seemed quite out of place on such a horrid creature. Why would an imp need spectacles? Ariana asked, the obvious question. Inspecting the glasses, I recognized that they seemed to fit the Hellion well, even though infernals didn't need glasses. This led to a gruesome discovery. These creatures here, they weren't just summoned. They were once people and were turned into these ugly monsters. The hypothesis made sense. The imp wearing the glasses was likely the Baron's wife, while the other one was part of her staff. Somehow, most horribly, the people here in the manor had been transformed into demonic monstrosities. From what we could see, there were several loose parchments sitting on the desk, along with jars of ink and a few sharp quills used for writing. Perhaps they were worth something, or could tell us something more. Reviewing the items, it appeared that whoever slept in the bedchamber was a decent magical scroll maker, as several partially written scrolls lay here. However, as the scrolls were never completed, they were worthless. Yes, Baron Renwald was quite adept at simple scroll creation, Sainayers commented, all but confirming that the lavish bedchamber here indeed belonged to the Baron and his wife. Yet we still have no idea where he might be. Quickly reviewing the partially completed scrolls, it seemed that the Baron had been writing them when he was interrupted by something, as the ink upon one of the scrolls had been badly smeared and the contents of the ink bottle itself knocked over onto the second scroll. A further search of the desk then revealed a locked drawer. Utilizing my thieving skills, I managed to pick the lock open, reviewing 2 magical scrolls, a scroll of shield and a scroll of sleep, Redfern nodding in appreciation as I handed the scrolls to him. The bedchamber thoroughly explored, we decided to return to the Great Hall to the west and try the other door leading southeast. Passing through the manor's Great Hall and taking the southeastern door, we found an obvious kitchen that appeared rather well equipped, a variety of foodstuffs dominating the area. However, none of it was edible, all the food had spoiled and turned moldy, the overall sight rather disgusting. Worse, the chamber now appeared overrun by vermin, ordinary mice, roaches, spiders, and other creepy crawlies having their way within. Despite a rather thorough search, we found absolutely nothing of value here, all was as it seemed. We did, however, find a secret door to the east. What was apparent, however, was that the kitchen was being used to prepare a rather large meal, and then the chefs and cooking staff apparently just walked away. Again, none of the food was remotely editable anymore, but much of it lay out as if it were being prepared and then was strangely abandoned. The cook staff must have been serving everyone back in the Great Hall when the onyx seal shard fell, Kartha pondered, thinking out loud. They likely never knew what hit them. Half expecting some monster to suddenly appear and attack, nothing more occurred within the kitchen, prompting us to continue our investigation of the manor. Continuing east through the secret door, we quickly found a small but modestly equipped library, the walls lined with shelves containing all manner of books, tomes, and parchments. While we needed to search the library to learn more, it did appear that most of the materials here were rotten and moldy, not unlike the kitchen to the west. Something had putrefied these books throughout the chamber. Each time I tried to handle one, it merely crumbled in my hands and fell to the floor like so much ash. Baron Renwald was fascinated by the arcane, Saint began, continuing to survey the rotting materials here. He actually became a low-level magic user, I believe, not to be an adventurer but to simply learn all he could about magic. This library here does not surprise me at all. And what's this? Ariana points and asks. Resting on a small table was a glittering crystal ball, an intriguing find within this strange place. Seemingly crafted from transparent quartz and smoothed to perfection, the crystalline sphere was almost a foot in diameter and sat upon a small metal stand atop a white cloth material. The object looked quite interesting. Carefully looking the crystal ball over, I then eyed a small crack in it near the top and at first assumed it was no longer magical. As I put my hand near the object, however, it began to glow with a slight reddish color. The closer I came to the crystal ball, the redder it became. I then suddenly felt compelled to touch it, a strong desire that seemed to almost overwhelm me. Indeed, the compulsion to touch the crystal ball was too strong and I did exactly that, deeply curious to see what would happen. For a moment the reddish color of the crystal ball consumed me and I felt a sudden, sharp pain in my behind, which became excruciating moments later. The party watched dumbfounded as my skin then took on the same reddish color and out from my behind appeared a long tail, not unlike the infernal imp tails we'd recently encountered. My body then began to heat up, and as my allies slowly backed away, I felt as if I was transforming into something infernal myself. Recognizing the curse for what it was, I somehow resisted the powerful magic flowing throughout my body, and a minute later I returned to normal, the color and unusual tail apparently gone. I suspect the evil power that's consumed the people here in the manor almost got to you too, Redfern explained, looking me over to make sure I was truly back to normal. That, my friend, was a close call. The strange encounter with the crystal ball over, we then exited the library via another secret door to the west. Moving past the secret door in the wall, we stepped onto the ground floor of what appeared to be a tower above, a wooden staircase standing in the northeastern corner and rising into the darkness. Immediately, however, we were nearly choked by an extremely foul stench, the familiar reek of humanoid wastes, and I wasn't sure I wanted to even be here. The party looked around, each of us holding some sort of cloth or handkerchief to our noses to keep the rotting smell at bay. It didn't take long for us to recognize that we'd found a private commode, with several wooden structures used to go to the bathroom against the northern wall and some crude piping to allow fresh water to descend from a large tub above. I further noticed that the floor was made of narrow wooden slats so that it could be easily rinsed down. Through the slats, I could tell that there was some sort of liquid below, perhaps 3 or 4 feet from the floor. I then directed some light down into the liquid beneath the floor, revealing what appeared to be a massive pit full of human wastes, offal from the kitchen and other disgusting substances I didn't want to know about. I certainly didn't want to fall in. What's that? Ariana asked, pointing in a particular direction below. From what I could see, there appeared to be something golden in the sludge, just a few inches tall but shiny in the light. The item definitely appeared intriguing, but trying to retrieve it would be equally as dangerous. What to do? Deciding to try and retrieve the golden item from the muck below, I quickly formulated a plan, first finding a way to open the flooring and then asking the party to lower me down so I could grab the golden item myself, as nobody in the party wanted to risk falling in themselves. As I was lowered down to just above the surface of the disgusting liquid, I carefully reached down to grab the item stuck within the septic sludge. Pulling it up, it became clear that the item was much larger than I anticipated. Worse, it was stuck, the liquid acting as a sort of glue and preventing easy retrieval of the item. It wasn't easy, but slowly I was able to extract what appeared to be a golden staff from the sludge, and quickly I had my party haul me back up and away from the danger. While the golden color appeared to merely be paint, there was a slight glow to the staff. It was magical. However, some of the liquid waste I had brought back up to the floor began to wiggle, and before I could do anything about it, about a dozen rot grubs squirmed their way toward us and attacked. While a few of them burrowed their way into our appendages, we soon defeated them and pushed the disgusting critters back into the septic sludge below, closing the floor grate again and glad to be done with it all. Indeed, Saint spoke for the party by stating that some places are just best left alone. Climbing the stairway, we soon reached the second floor of the tower, its floor made of wood and the stairway continuing to a third level. Looking about, we saw a solid oak table near the center of the floor, a couple of odd stargazing instruments lying on the table mixed in with other books, papers, and such. Nearby, several open windows allowed easy access to the night sky, a faded yellow star map of the heavens tacked alongside one of the windows. Searching the chamber and finding a small cabinet to the left of the table, I soon extracted a long, metallic tubular device with glassy ends that I had never seen before. "What is that?" Redfern began, curious. At first, nobody seemed to know. Ariana then took the item from me, holding the smaller end to one eye while pointing the slightly larger end through a nearby window and pausing a moment, the behavior rather strange. "It's a telescope," the fighter continued, still peering through the piece of unwelcome technology. "It makes things far away seem much closer. Anyone want to give it a try?" Ariana turned back to me and held the device out, waiting for someone to take it. "You hold something technicky," Saint responded, stating what everyone else was thinking. "It should be destroyed, now." Reaching for the device, Kartha blocked the Sislan from taking the telescope, her anger returning. "Oh yes, anything you Sislans can't understand is evil and forbidden, isn't it?" Kartha criticized. "This is science, and it's not your enemy." Recognizing that we had much more important things to worry about, I utilized all the diplomacy I could muster to quickly defuse the situation, convincing both Kartha and Saint to back down. In return, Ariana agreed to put the telescope back where she found it, so it didn't cause any more conflict within the party. Continuing up to the third floor and looking about, we found what could only be a modest alchemical laboratory, dozens of glass-based items, containers, and such standing in various positions throughout the room. I also spotted a large, obvious bird cage standing within the very center of the chamber, perhaps 6 feet in height. Several strange creatures appeared perched within. As we approached, we apparently made a little too much noise, causing the creatures within the cage to begin squawking like crazy, making a great deal of noise as if sounding an alarm. Nearing the cage, we could see that the door was closed but unlocked. We could certainly open the door if we wished. I also noticed that the floor of the cage appeared to contain a few shiny gems. However, the bat-like creatures looked formidable and I thought twice about opening the door. Despite concerned looks from my heroes, I slowly opened the door anyway, hoping that the creatures would cower against the far side of the cage. Instead, the bat-like creatures flew out at us and attacked, latching onto our appendages and even sucking some of our blood before they could be beaten back. The Stirges dispatched, we were free to search the bottom of the bird cage, its surface caked with disgusting guano. While we recovered 4 green stones and a potion of invisibility, my party didn't feel that the pain was worth the gain and scolded me for making yet another bad decision. After taking some time to rest, relearn spells, and heal our wounds, we climbed the stairs to the final tower floor, quickly feeling heat, thick, heavy heat that was surprising and uncomfortable. The floor itself appeared to be some sort of storage area, with a diversity of boxes, chests, shelving and other containers lying all about in orderly fashion. However, it was hard to see throughout the room, as parts of the ceiling were starting to collapse, hiding certain spots of the chamber from view. We then noticed movement from the far end of the tower floor, obscured but movement nonetheless. Keeping as quiet as possible, we scanned the immediate area and explored a few of the nearer containers. This place was definitely some sort of storage area, and exploring it thoroughly would likely take hours. "I think someone is searching for something," Redfern keenly observed, pointing toward the far corner but our sight still obstructed. "How should we approach?" Still perhaps 30 feet away, it did seem like something humanoid was rummaging through the various containers, its back to us and likely unaware of our presence. Wanting to get closer but not necessarily attack, I instructed the party to close in on the humanoid from behind. Before we got too far, however, the being stopped what it was doing, turned and faced us. "And what do we have here, then?" A deep, hideous voice projected. Out of the shadows a monstrous humanoid creature appeared. Standing some 8 feet tall and possessing 2 curved horns on its head, the being appeared demonic with thick grey hides of leather-like scales and small, thorny spikes protruding from the crevices. This monster was the obvious source of heat within the chamber, and its eyes glowed a malevolent red as it looked us over as if mere toys to play with. Another infernal, Kartha whispered into my ear, her voice crackling with fear. This creature looks vaguely familiar, Sainairs whispered, also quite fearful. I believe we've found Baron Renwald, or what he's been transformed into. What do you think of my new body? The devil asked, grinning with conceit. It suits me. You were Baron Renwald. Sainairs replied, playing his hunch. What happened here, to you and everyone else? Why, I have been reborn. The monster returned, readying a wicked blade. We all have. Now, feel my wrath. The devil laughed like the true monster it was, the creature revealing two imps just behind itself that also rushed us to attack. As Eswin and Ariana joined the battle, the spined devil stepped forward but then turned, launching several sharp projectiles from its body directly at the two warriors. Their wooden shields up, however, the bony barbs struck the wood instead of their flesh, saving both a lot of pain. As Eswin and Ariana fought the devil themselves, the rest of us attacked the two imps, soon defeating them. And just in time, the spined devil not only had a powerful bladed weapon attack but its bite was poisonous, soon leaving Ariana nearly incapacitated. All of us seriously wounded by the devil and the two imps, it took every ounce of our stamina and courage to finally bring the monster down, Eswin delivering the killing blow. Incredible surprise etched into the eyes of the horned devil at having been defeated, the creature buckled and shook as it expired, the sight ghastly and one I would never forget. Moments later, actual steam began to rise from the Hellion's body and slowly it reverted into a tall, nearly naked man lying on the floor, someone Sainairs recognized. Baron Renwald. Once a kind, strong, brave human being, an outside power had literally turned him into a monster, everything the Baron had reviled while alive. Sainairs bowed his head in sorrow, fully recognizing that there was little more that could be done for him, and Redfern placed his hand upon the right shoulder of Sainairs, attempting to comfort him. Now that Baron Renwald had been found and there were no other dangers facing us here, we were free to fully explore the tower level and see what else we could find. We soon opened all the unlocked containers within the tower floor, finding only personal garments, souvenirs, and other items belonging to the Baron and his wife. Clearly this was where they kept most of their important keepsakes and belongings. Unfortunately, none of the things we found were worth anything, and we wouldn't have felt right taking these belongings anyway. However, there was still what appeared to be a modest treasure chest at the back of the room to examine, the same one the spined devil was about to open when we encountered him. Opening the chest, we found, well, a great deal of treasure. Inside were hundreds of coins, gems, jewelry and even a few potions, enough to take care of the entire party for some time. It was quite the haul and at first all of us were in awe of the treasure lying there. Unaccustomed to such wealth, Eswin pushed the chest over, allowing its contents to spill out across the floor. As my party members began to sift through it all, however, Sainairs shook his head in disagreement, clearly not comfortable about something. Don't take any of it. The Sislan warned, eyeing each of us rather strangely. None of this belongs to us, it now belongs to the Baron's only daughter back in Kathleen. Please, don't help yourself to a single copper coin. Well, that was a huge disappointment, all this treasure and we weren't supposed to take any of it. Recognizing that Sainairs was completely right and that all the treasure here belonged to the Baron's daughter now, I instructed the party to leave all the wealth where it was and not take any of it. There was a lot of wealth and it was hard to pass it up, but I knew we were doing the right thing, which certainly improved our party's overall reputation. Wait a moment, Lomtora, Ariana called out, bent over the treasure chest itself and gently knocking on various surfaces of the chest, listening intently. After a few more knocks, Ariana located what appeared to be a false bottom in the chest. Using a dagger to pry the false bottom loose, Ariana then found an old burlap sack lying within a tiny space between the false bottom and the actual bottom of the chest. The clever elf extracted the sack and handed it to me, everyone quite surprised by the find. Well done, Ariana, Redfern began, recognizing the magical object for what it was. You've found the bag of holding the Dryad sent us to recover. Which we need to return to Luasia now. Kartha reminded the party, almost in a panic. Hurry, there is no time to lose. Sainairs and Kartha used the last of their healing magic on several of us, then we rushed back down the stairway, intent on returning to Luasia's grove as fast as we possibly could. Returning to the grove, the location was quiet, Luasia hidden away again in her dying oak tree. Not exactly knowing how to draw Luasia out, I unfolded the bag of holding and held it out, the magical item flapping gently in the breeze. Moments later, Luasia emerged from her wooden home, cautious at first and barely able to keep her eyes open. Suddenly astonished that we had actually recovered the bag of holding, the dryad took it from me so she could properly dispose of the onyx seal shard once we had extracted it. Luasia then quickly escorted our party north again, arriving at the location of the shard minutes later. Someone will need to very carefully extract the object and drop it into the bag, Luasia continued, the entire party now standing just a few feet from the glowing thing. It's quite poisonous to the touch. Let me try, Ariana volunteered, retrieving a simple dagger with which to pry the object up and out of the soil. My hands are likely the steadiest here. Luasia agreed and prepared the bag of holding as Ariana carefully positioned herself alongside the glowing object, its light nearly blinding her. After several nail-biting moments, Ariana managed to free the object from the soil around it, utilizing her dagger to flip the thing up and into the bag of holding. She had done it. All at once, the darkness and disease and death that had flooded the manor and the local area faded away. Nothing was immediately restored of course, but at least the local vegetation would be able to grow back now with time. My heroes helped Ariana to her feet, then we made our way back to the dryad's beloved oak tree. As we returned, Luasia smiled as her all-but-dead tree was saved, already starting to recover. We had done it, saving Luasia from a horrible fate, and while the Baron and his entire extended family were all slain, at least we knew what had happened. Unable to repay our bravery, kindness, and altruism in any other way, the dryad instead delivered a gentle kiss to each of my heroes before turning back for her tree again, about to depart. I shall dream of all of you as I sleep now, and how your noble strength and valor not only saved me but my beloved grove. Go in peace, my dearest friends, and do not think lightly of the great thing you have done here today. I shall forever value our chance encounter. While I would have enjoyed some more time with the dryad, she was still close to death and I knew in my heart that it was best to let her go. The fey creature smiled again, then slipped back into her dominating oak tree, itself slowly springing back to life thanks to my adventuring party. My heroes utterly exhausted from the battle with the spined devil, we made camp right there in the grove and spent nearly the entire next day recovering, proud of our accomplishments with the dryad and preparing ourselves for what lay ahead within the city of Nace. And that's a wrap of episode number 14, The Baron's Curse. Expect additional episodes every few weeks as the story continues. Looking for much more interactivity, perhaps